Shocking Red Bull simulator fail. Is this the end of their dominance in F1? Alright guys, welcome back to Formula One News. We've got some hot updates from Red Bull and a lot to unpack after the Monaco Grand Prix. Let's dive right in. We've heard Mercedes talk for the last few years about their simulator just not matching what happens on the track. They think the car will do one thing, but it actually does something entirely different. Mercedes has been struggling with this since 2022. Now, surprisingly, Red Bull seems to be facing a similar issue. Since the Singapore GP last year and continuing into this season, the RB20 isn't matching what their computers predict at certain circuits. This is a major problem that could potentially cost them big at the Monaco GP and even this year's championship. Now let's talk about the Monaco GP itself. Qualifying was great as always, but the race, honestly, it was the worst I've seen in a very long time. Almost nothing happened. Sure, the red flag at the start didn't help as it ruined all strategic plays, but in the last 5 years, Monaco has had just 41 overtakes on track. Compare that to Las Vegas last year, which had 82. Formula One seems to be viewing Las Vegas as the new Monaco. Monaco is historic, sure, but it's also run by the Principality themselves, limiting F1's control over it. F1 probably feels that Monaco needs Formula One more than the other way around, although Monaco might disagree. So what can we do to make Monaco better? It's almost impossible to overtake under normal conditions. Even the cars were sometimes driving slower than Formula 2 machinery because they didn't need to push. The F2 race was good, showing that smaller, lighter, and more agile cars can make a difference. If we were racing in the cars from the 50s, it would be a banger. The issue is the current cars. One suggestion is to mandate pit stops. Every driver would have to run the soft, medium, and hard compounds during the Grand Prix. This could make races more entertaining, especially for one-stop races like Monaco. Another idea is to use only soft tires, forcing drivers to pit twice. Lewis Hamilton even suggested 3 mandatory stops to spice things up. There's also talk about changing the track itself. Instead of going right at Portier and into the tunnel, you could go left first, extending the distance and creating a longer run into the tunnel. This could make the heavy braking zone after the tunnel more of an overtaking spot. You might even add DRS in the tunnel, though that could be risky. In the driver market, Liam Lawson's chances at a Red Bull drive seem slim. They're happy with Yuki Tsunoda and still value Daniel Ricciardo as a marketing tool. Lawson might look elsewhere, making him an interesting contender in the driver market. Williams or Haas could be potential fits for him. And in other news, Alpine is in talks with none other than Flavio Briatore. Yes, the same Briatore involved in the infamous Crashgate scandal with Renault in 2008. He might return as a consultant for Alpine, which is wild considering his history. Speaking of Alpine, there's drama between Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. After their crash, there were rumors about Alpine enforcing a non-aggression pact to prevent further incidents. These two have a history, and it's no surprise they've clashed at Alpine. Back to Red Bull. Helmut Marko mentioned they're struggling with crash damage costs and potentially running out of parts. If they crash again in Canada, they might have to revert to older specs. This could hurt them in the championship standings. The main issue, though, is their simulator. It's not correlating with reality. In the simulator, they can drive over curbs without problems, but in reality, the car hops like a kangaroo. This issue first appeared in Singapore last year and has persisted. Their car doesn't perform as expected on bumpy tracks or over curbs, making setup tricky for places like Montreal. Adrian Newey, now Red Bull's chief technical officer, hinted at a feature of the RB20 he didn't like. This might be it, the car's performance over bumps and curbs. With the Canadian GP approaching, Red Bull is on the back foot, uncertain if their car will perform as predicted by the simulator. This internal struggle within Red Bull, possibly influenced by the dynamics between Marko, Horner, and Verstappen, might be contributing to their recent issues. We'll have to see how this unfolds, but it's fascinating to watch. One last interesting stat. The last time Verstappen, Hamilton, and Alonso were all outside the top 5 was back in China 2016. In Monaco, this happened again. Aston Martin, Mercedes, and Red Bull are all on a downward trajectory, making this season's outcome even more unpredictable. So, what do you think? Can Red Bull solve their simulator issues? Will Monaco see any changes to improve racing? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next time.